So I don't. Okay. So I don't know what just happened, but I already tried recording some of this, and I don't know. I just something. I don't even know. We're just gonna start this again. So, welcome to another fairy tale fan fiction. This is Her Touch by BambooGreen. So, in the past couple episodes, I have looked at my list. I have my list of fan fictions to read, and this was sort of the next one on the list. So I was like, okay, what actually is this? And then I completely remembered, and then so all of my slight surprise at me sort of reading this. I mean, for all of my slight surprise at me reading this for the first time in a while will be completely gone until like halfway through the second chapter. So let's just get into it. Oh, what? Come on! I was in the... Whatever. So, chapter 1. Ay. Levy's POV. The city was loud, as usual, but I didn't let the noise bother me as I made my way to the edge of town. There was a place that some looked at with fear, others with hate, and most with wonder. There are all manner of beings gathered to protect those who shied away. It was a place called Fairy Tale. We were mercenaries, protectors, and fighters. Everyone there was different. They weren't human. From the master Makarov, who was a powerful Oni, Natsu a dragon in human skin, Lucy a golden spirit who had the power of the stars, and Juvia a water sprite who could make it rain for days or even grant the desert a tsunami. And then there's me. I wasn't a normal human, though most of my friends will surely outlive me. I am what's known as a preternatural, or a soulless, depending on who you ask. My powers weren't like the others. A single touch from me to anyone who was once human, they could be turned right back to their human state. Vampires could see the sun if they held my hand, and werewolves could spend the full moons in peace instead of crazed. But once our contact broke, they would be supernatural once more. That power is what made me so valuable to Fairy Tale, though I know my friends didn't see me that way. I trained in combat with them, and I fought beside them to protect these people from the true dangers in the shadows. I sighed softly to myself as I approached the feared building. There wasn't really anything to be scared of here, that is, once you knew the banging sounds weren't deadly. I opened the large front doors, letting the noise of the brawl drift momentarily into the streets before shutting the doors. The guild was large, like an oversized bar really, with tables littered across the floor and a bar at the back of the room with the white-haired barmaid Mira Jane. She and her two siblings, Elfman and Lizana, were known as Soul Eaters. They devoured the souls of those they killed and were able to take their forms. I made my way towards the barmaid, taking a path around the brawl between Natsu and Gray, an ice elemental. Actually, it's supposed to be Gray, but whatever. Natsu's wild pink hair was framed by two ash-gray horns that protruded from his forehead. They only appeared when he was in combat. Gray's navy hair hung in his eyes as he hurled ice at the dragon, his skin letting off a cold fog wherever he went. I hopped on one of the bar stools and smiled at Mira. "Morning, Mira." She returned my smile as she cleaned a glass. "Morning, Levy," the usual. I nodded, and she retreated to the back to make my breakfast. "Morning, Levy," a musical voice called, and I turned to see Lucy, my best friend. Her golden hair was piled in a high ponytail, and she wore a simple t-shirt with shorts. Her whole being practically let off a glow, making her a beacon in the night. About her eyes there was a dusting of what looked like golden star tattoos that one never really saw unless they looked hard. "Morning, Lou. You finished that book?" I asked with a grin, and she nodded, pulling out a thick volume. We got lost in talking about the book, stopping only when Mira brought our breakfast. After nearly an hour of talking, the master appeared on the second floor landing. He was a short man, even shorter than me, and I wasn't even 5 feet tall. He waited until he had everyone's attention before speaking. "Listen up, brats. We have a new brother. He has been handling things outside of our work and now has decided to join us. Treat him well and don't start any fights right away, Natsu," he grumbled, eyeing the dragon who feigned hurt. He rolled his eyes and motioned behind him for someone to step forward. The sound of heavy boots echoed in the empty hall before the man was in sight. "Gaja Red Fox Werewolf," the master introduced. I couldn't seem to take my eyes off of him as he scowled down at the crowd. He had long raven black hair and that stretched down his back in a wild mane. Crimson eyes glared out from beneath sets of 3 iron studs instead of eyebrows, and more piercings lined his nose and down his chin. His arms were crossed over his chest, and I could see more studs in his arms along with several scars. He wore a red V-neck shirt underneath a black sleeveless leather vest and black jeans that hung low enough to be illegal. Sure. I shook my head as I felt my cheeks heat up and the noise around the guild picked up again. "You okay, Levy?" Lucy asked, and I smiled, trying to wave it off. "I'm great." Chapter 2. For the second time. Oh, God. Okay. Gajiel. This is probably just Gajiel's POV, but, you know, they I don't know. Some people make mistakes, and then some make a lot of mistakes. At least this person hasn't been shown to make a lot of mistakes yet, but whatever. Go on then, Makarov said once everyone had stopped gawking at me. Go join the others. Fine, I sighed, knowing I didn't really have a choice. The man had finally, after 50 years, talked me into joining his damned guild. Apparently things were getting dangerous for human-born supernaturals because of some lunatic, so he had urged me to join, saying we were safer in numbers. I would have been fine, but whatever. I owed the old man a favor for saving my hide a few years ago, so I figured joining, at least for a few years, would satisfy him. As I made my way down to the first floor, an interesting scent caught my nose. I tracked it to a small brunette who was sitting by a blonde and that pink-haired dragonborn kid. Something about her was different. She smelled like a human, but there was definitely something extra there. She didn't like the rest of us. I frowned as I watched her from across the guild hall. "What is she?" "Hey," the dragonborn called, standing up on a table as fire engulfed both of his fists. "Fight me, wolf." "Sit down," I barked, "before you get yourself hurt." "Bring it on, fleabag," he smirked, jumping at me. I sighed, punching him in the face. "Didn't your master just tell you not to start a fight?" I asked as he quickly recovered and came at me again. "I want to see how strong you are," he grinned. I frowned. Although he was attacking me, I could tell he wasn't actually trying to hurt me. His strikes were almost friendly in a way. I had never fought anyone who wasn't trying to kill me, so it was strange dodging his attacks. "Natsu, leave him alone," Makarov said, causing the dragonborn to halt. "Fine," he pouted, returning to the blonde's side. "We'll finish this later, Gajiel." "Yeah, whatever," I grumbled, sitting at a table alone. "Can I give you something to drink?" a white-haired woman asked, offering me a friendly smile. The hairs on the back of my neck immediately stood up when I smelled her, and decided to bite back the retort for her to leave me alone. Not even I was dumb enough to mess with a soul eater. "Sure," I nodded. My eyes drifted back to the brunette, and I found that she was staring at me as well. She quickly looked away when my eyes met hers, and I saw a slight blush color her cheeks. What was that about? "Did you hear about Ivan?" I felt my ears twitch at the sound of the Oni's name. 2 older men, one with a pipe and one with a beer mug, were huddled close together, whispering to each other. "Ivan, as in Master's son?" the one with the pipe asked. "Yeah, apparently he's come out of hiding recently." "That can't be good. I wonder what he's planning." "I don't know," the man paused to take a large swig from his mug, "but I have a bad feeling." "Gajiel, Levy," Makarov's voice from the second floor suddenly pulled my attention away from the conversation. I paused on the stairs, realizing the brunette with the interesting smell was directly in front of me. "Yes, master?" she asked. "So her name is Levy." "Come with me," he said, motioning for the 2 of us to follow him. He led us to a large office, then shut the door before taking a seat on top of his desk. "I have an important job for the 2 of you." "Us?" Levy asked, shooting me a surprised look. "I assume you've both heard about my son, Ivan," he sighed, looking quite tired. "Yes," Levy nodded. "He's a purist, isn't he?" "Purist?" I frowned. "He thinks that human-born supernaturals who are below those who are born supernatural. He has a small following of other purists who hunt down supernaturals who are once humans and kill them. They feel the same way about humans and have targeted them for some time as well," Levy explained. "For several years, I've went into hiding to avoid getting caught. Just recently has reappeared and seems to be more powerful than he used to be." "That's right," Makarov nodded. "And Oni's powers increase with age, so I'm not surprised that his have grown. However, this worries me because he has gone back to targeting human-borns." "What do you want us to do about it?" I asked. "You and Livy are going to find him," he said simply. "Once we know where he is, report back to me, and we can send a team to kill him." "That could take days," I frowned. "And?" he asked, raising an eyebrow at me. "The full moon is in 2 days, old man." "That's what Levy is for," Makarov grinned. "She'll take care of that." How is a little girl supposed to subdue a fully matured werewolf? I scoffed, glancing down at the tiny woman. With an annoyed huff, I saw her reach towards me. When her hand gripped my wrist, I suddenly felt all of my strength leave me. In an instant, she had kicked my feet out from under me, and I was staring up at the ceiling in shock. I can take care of myself, she smiled. What the hell? I breathed, looking at the wrist she had been holding. I feel like he should have said, what just happened? Like he did in the Tenro Island. That would have been funny. As soon as she released me, my strength had returned and I felt normal once again. Levy here is a preternatural, Makarov chuckled. A soulless? I gaped at her. Once I had gotten to my feet, I had heard of them, but their existence was just rumors and folklore amongst the human-borns. I had never actually met one. That's right. When I touch you, you're nothing more than an ordinary human, so the full moon won't be a problem. Damn, I mumbled. Scary little shrimp, aren't you? I'm not a shrimp, she shot back at me. I chuckled. Ah, fuck. Patting the top of her head. Don't get so worked up, shrimp. Now that you're both acquainted, Makarov said, clearing his throat, go get packed. You're leaving tonight. Okay. Chapter 3. Levy's POV. We left the master's office and headed back downstairs. I couldn't help but glance over at the wolf beside me. There was something about him that I couldn't put my finger on. Something that told me he was different. I shook it off as we walked down the stairs. Here at 8 tonight? I asked as I looked up at him. He glanced down at me before simply grunting, and I frowned slightly. Levy! I looked up to see Lucy waving me over from our table, and I smiled. I glanced at Gagio one last time before walking over to her. Hey, Lou, she gave me a wide grin, and I frowned slightly. What? She giggled. What did the master want with you and the hunky wolf? I flushed slightly, but shrugged it off. He gave us a mission. We're leaving tonight. I told her, and trying to get rid of the heat in my cheeks. Good luck, Lev. She wiggled her eyebrows and elbowed me. Damn it, Lucy, I groaned as I stood up. I said goodbye before heading out of the guild, nearly running into a woman with long scarlet hair and old-fashioned armor. She had long, translucent wings stretching down her back. Pardon me, Levy, Urza said with a smile, and I grinned. Sorry, Urza, I wasn't paying attention. She nodded as she looked into the guild. We have a new member? She asked, and I turned to see her looking at Gagio. He was sitting at the far corner talking with Juvia, and something in my gut twisted, but I shook it off. Yeah, his name is Gagio Red Fox, werewolf. I'm actually getting ready to go on a mission with him. She nodded again. I won't keep you then. Be careful out there. I nodded before heading back out to the street. My apartment was an easy 10-minute walk away, and once I got there, I began packing. Gagio's POV. After I sat at a far table and caught up with an old friend, Juvia, I saw the shrimp leaving the guild. Something tightened in my chest once she was out of my sight, but I shrugged it off. Shouldn't Gagio be getting ready for his mission? Juvia asked, and I snorted slightly. I've got everything I need, woman. Don't have anything else anyway, I grumbled. I had been living a hand-to-mouth lifestyle for years. The only reason I had clean clothes was the old man. I laughed slightly as I leaned back in my chair, propping my feet on the table. I hadn't realized I dozed off until something tapped my arm. In the brief contact, my strength left me, and it was unsettling. I started, my eyes flying open. That scent hit me again before I saw her, the scent of ink and sunlight, and something else. She giggled lightly at me as I nearly fell out of my chair, and I scowled at her. She was wearing army green jeans that tucked into knee-high black biker boots, a white long-sleeve shirt that hung off her slender shoulder, and her sky blue locks were held back by a red checkered headband. Morning, wolf boy, she giggled again, and that sound made my gut twist again. What shrimp? I snarled, and she frowned. Time to go, she said before picking up a large backpack by her feet and slinging it over her shoulders. I snorted softly before standing and stretching, popping my back into place. I followed after the small brunette as she headed out the doors and down the dark streets. I looked up into the clear sky and saw it was nearly full moon. Though it was still 2 days away, I could feel my blood boiling and the beast's thirst for carnage. You gonna be alright? Levy's voice pulled me out of my stare, and I grunted, turning my eyes back to the street. Where are we going, shrimp? She snorted. It's Levy, and we're going to Hargion. It's the next town over. There's a small organization there that sometimes partners with us. They're called Extalia. It would be a good place to start hunting down information, she stated, and I nodded. We should be there in about an hour by foot. I don't have a car, she continued, and I snorted. It's not a problem, I grumbled, and she nodded. As we headed out of the city, the noise gradually faded, and soon we were surrounded by the darkness of night. and the calls of the nocturnal animals. After a while, she started humming softly, swaying back and forth to her own tune. I watched her out of the corner of my eye, watching her every movement, from the sway of her hips to the bob of her head and the slight skip in her step. I didn't know what the clenched even my gut was, but I wished that it would stop doing it every time I saw the small girl. So she started. You know, Juvia? I raised a studded eyebrow at her question as I crossed my arms over my chest. Yeah, met her about 70 years back, I said, still looking at her. Despite the dark, I saw her face tint pink softly, and I heard her heart pick up slightly. She just a friend? She asked quietly. I nodded, confused by her question. Though I heard her sigh softly, she just smiled to herself and picked up her pace. I frowned lightly as I watched the strange brunette. Most people I could read or tell what they were thinking, but the shrimp was different. She seemed full of surprises. Ah, what is this? Okay, chapter 4, and then I think we might be done for the video because we don't want to make it too long. Levy's POV, I assume. Are we almost there? Gajo grumbled. We had just reached Harjion, and I could tell Gajo was annoyed about the crowd of people still out and about. This is it, actually, I told him, stopping in front of an old bar. From the outside, it looked similar to Fairy Tale, but the inside held a totally different world. Levy, a booming voice said as soon as we were inside. Suddenly I was being crushed by very large arms, and I shrieked in delighted surprise. Lily, I giggled, struggling to breathe, put me down. It's good to see you, the tall were-panther grinned, causing the scar over his left eye to crinkle at the corner. His dark skin and large frame told of his true form. Actually, all of the members of Ixtalia had strange markings on their skin to match the markings they would have once they shifted. You too, I smiled. Gajo cleared his throat loudly, causing both of us to look at him. For some reason, he was glaring daggers at Lily. He was standing quite close to me, almost protectively. Don't be silly, I told myself when I got a weird flutter in my stomach. The thought of Gajo being jealous made me feel oddly good. Who's your friend? Lily asked, looking back to me. Gajo Red Fox, he said before I could answer. Werewolf. I had never seen a room go silent so fast. I shouldn't have been surprised by the reaction. It was common knowledge that the were-feline and the were-canine breeds weren't on the best of terms with each other. Other than the cat-dog thing, I don't really get it. Though. They're both were-creatures, so you'd think they'd get along a little better. And why have you two come to Ixtalia? Lily asked, the voice quite loud now that the room had gone silent. We're on a mission for Master Makarov, I said, hearing Gajo was a member of Fairy Tale. The tension in the room seemed to melt away, and people went back to their own business. Let's go somewhere private to talk, Lily told us, walking to the far side of the room and sitting at an empty table. Once we were seated, he grinned at Gajo. Sorry about their response. We've had a few issues with a rogue werewolf over the past few nights, so everyone is on edge. Rogues don't usually come into the city, I frowned. Rogue werewolves weren't like their ordinary counterparts. Most of the time they chose to live in packs, or on their own, shifting to go on runs and during the full moon. Rogues, however, chose to live most of their lives as wolves and slowly lost their humanity. The madness they experienced during a full moon became their entire existence, occurring all the time instead of just once a month. Because these rogues were usually hunted down and killed before they could harm anyone. We were also perplexed as to why a rogue would come this far into civilization. That is, he paused inside until we learned the reason he had come. He was running, Lily said. Once we captured him, he returned to his human form and told us what had happened. He was being chased, and he remained in his wolf form for 3 long days in order to outrun the Oni that was trying to hunt him down. Gajo and I exchanged a look. Will that Oni's name be Ivan? Gajo asked. Lily nodded, looking surprised. How would you know? That's actually the reason we came here, I sighed. Ivan is Master Makarov's son, and he has been hiding for a long time. Recently, he came out of hiding and has been hunting down human-born supernaturals. That's troubling news, Lily frowned. That means you cats need to start traveling in pairs, Gajo said. I will inform Mistress Shagat, Lily told us. You two are probably hungry and tired from your journey. Stay here tonight, eat something warm and rest. After that we can leave in the morning to go after Ivan. We? I asked. I will accompany you, Lily nodded. I know this area well, and we will be able to assist you should anything happen. and we can handle it fine. We can handle it just fine on our own, Gagio snapped, crossing his arms. We'd love your help, I said, frowning at Gagio. Thank you, Lily. Okay, Gagio's POV, I assume. I watched the were-panther leave before turning to Shrimp, finding that she was already glaring at me. Don't be so rude. I wasn't being rude, I growled, looking away from her as the young woman brought 2 bowls of steaming soup for Levy and me. Lily was kind enough to offer us a place to stay for the night and some hot dinner, so you could have at least thanked him, she huffed. If I didn't know better, I'd say you had a thing for that cat, I frowned, and at the thought, my stomach knotted itself uncomfortably. And I had this sudden urge to punch something, preferably the cat. That was all replaced by shock when she burst into laughter, actually doubling over as tears shined brightly in the corners of her eyes. Sorry, she gasped as she calmed down, wiping the tears from her eyes. No, I don't have a thing for Lily. I've known him since I was little. He's like a brother. I nodded. That's good. What? Her eyes widened in surprise as she stared at me. Hell, I didn't even know why I said that. Nothing, I grumbled. Eat your soup before it gets cold. Frowning slightly at me, she ate her dinner. Lily returned soon after and led us to our rooms. Mine was directly beside hers, and for some strange reason that was calming. Knowing she would be near me all night sent strange shivers down my spine. Ones I blamed on the full moon in just a couple of nights. However, I knew deep down that wasn't what had caused them. Just like it wasn't the full moon that was causing my entire nervous system to light up like a damn lightning storm every time her scent drifted into my nose. This is bad. There's definitely something wrong with me. I never reacted to another person like this, and it unnerved me. Whatever it is, I don't like it. So that was the first 4 chapters of the story, and we have, 19 of them. So, next time we will continue with this. Oh, boy.